Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist. I've had my chance to play with my brother's cat, now I want to start YouTubing before bed. It is finally Friday, which is my YouTube Friday. Every Friday pretty much is my one day of the week that I get a chance to do a YouTube video of some sort. And then I also usually try to do another YouTube video, usually between Sunday evening and Tuesday sometime, usually right around that time frame. So, just to keep you guys informed for future reference while I'm in this crazy hectic schedule, just keep in mind that from now on I will be doing a YouTube video pretty much every Friday, and then also at the beginning of the week between Sunday and Tuesday. And that's until I can finally get to the point where I'm just working at the Ark Encounter, which I will explain some other time. Anyway, so before I get into the main discussion tonight, which you'll find very interesting, and before I really start on it, I really need to open my Bible and find out exactly where it talks about the mark of the beast, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. But I just wanted to share with you guys that I did go ahead and buy my flight to Central Florida this year, or for later this year, I should say, for September 30th, and then flying back on October 7th. So I got myself a morning flight, 8:20 in the morning, on September 30th. So I will need to go get the COVID test first thing in the morning on September 29th. So I'll have to request to open the day before. So I shouldn't say open, go in later the next day, so I can go and get like a COVID test first thing in the morning, because they're requiring a COVID test from like the day before you get on the flight. Excuse me, and that way I have it in my possession before I jump on the plane. I don't know if I need it to go back. That is a great question. I mean, if I do, that's not a big deal. I'm sure I can find somewhere where I can go get the COVID test while I'm in Florida to be able to fly back. So, yeah, I'll have to talk to TJ and find out if you actually do need a COVID test to be able to fly back to Florida. Sorry, back to Northern Kentucky, I should say. Give me 1 second, actually. I need to know if I need the COVID test to be able to fly back to Northern Kentucky, or if I just needed to fly down to Florida. So we'll see. But, that's way later on in the year. I know that my work wouldn't need it, whether I stayed with Myra or whether I worked at the Ark Encounter. I just know I needed to get on the plane. So that's like really the concern. And honestly, even if they did require it to be able to fly back, that would be crazy, because who's going to have time to get a COVID test going back? I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't mind doing it. I'm sure there are places where I could go in Florida where I can go get the COVID test, but obviously getting a COVID test here in Northern Kentucky is not a big deal. I mean, you can get a free one pretty much anywhere. St. Elizabeth is the one I usually go to, because there's a drive-through clinic in it's kind of in the Crestview Hills area. I know you guys wouldn't know what I'm talking about, but that's where it is, and that's where I normally would go. I decided to use the wall to kind of lean against. Not that I'm tired, I just needed something slightly comfortable than just kind of keeping my big fat body forced up. But yeah, I'm going to fly into Tampa on September 30th. I have to change planes in Houston, Texas. So I'm kind of excited. I'm flying into Houston, Texas for the first time. And then on the way back, I have to fly into Baltimore, Maryland, which is kind of weird because that's actually going to go out of the way, but whatever. And then I have to change planes again and then go on another plane going back to Northern Kentucky. So here's the other thing that's ironic about flying into Kentucky or flying out of Kentucky. It says Cincinnati, Ohio. But get this, though. The airport is not actually in Cincinnati, Ohio at all. It's actually in Hebron, Kentucky. I actually live not too far from the airport myself. And my church is even closer. So, from where I live you have a couple of options. You could take a road called the Kentucky 20 to the airport. Obviously, your fastest way would be to go down to the interstate, hop on it, go down a couple of exits. Actually, not even a couple of exits. What am I saying? Like an exit, and boom, you're already there. It's crazy. So, yeah, it's very, very convenient. It's very nice. I'm sure there's other ways to get there, but that's like the most convenient from where we are, and it's not even that bad at all. It's kind of nice, actually, if it comes down to it. You could probably get to the airport in about 10-15 minutes from here. I mean, where I was about 10-15 minutes, but I think it's a little closer now because we're so close. I mean, I can hear the airplanes going overhead all the time now. Anyway, enough of that. So, let me pause the video so I know exactly what I'm going to be talking about, and then we're going to go into the main discussion. So, just hang on for a second. So, obviously, you guys waited like literally a second versus I had it took me a couple of minutes. But yeah, still in the long run, thank you for your patience, regardless, because of the fact that it still did take me, a couple of seconds to figure that out. But anyway, I really wanted to talk to you guys, about the trip. I mean, I literally just bought the ticket, or booked the flight, I should say, and I just posted on my Facebook page, and I just emailed TJ and came my flight information. So, yeah, I'm really excited. So, anyway, before I talk about the COVID vaccine, I just want to read to you guys from Revelation chapter 13 what it says about the mark of the beast. So this is from the section, the second beast. Let's skip ahead to verse 14, I guess. Don't mind me if I'm not looking at the camera. And by the signs that it is allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived, and it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak, and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Also, it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has that that is the name of the beast, or the number of its name, 666, which I'm going to get to in a second, by the way. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So that is exactly what the Bible says about the mark of the beast. I wanted to start with that because there's been a lot of confusion lately about what the mark of the beast is, and whether the COVID vaccine or even the face mask, for example, has anything to do with the mark of the beast. Neither of them do. We can still buy, sell, even trade. We can still live from day to day, with or without it. Now, a lot of people are like, you can't do any of that without the face mask. Well, normally that is the case. Yes, there's a lot of places where you cannot go into, like most grocery stores. It depends on where you go, will not allow you to go in there without that face mask on. And I'm sure we're getting to the point where the COVID vaccine is going to become very strict too. To the point where it's the mark of the beast. I might even rename this title Why the Face Mask or the COVID Vaccine is Not the Mark of the Beast. Or are not the mark of the beast, I should say. But regardless, think about the fact that you have to, or you can still go online and you can still buy stuff. So at some point, you're not going to be able to do any of that online. You're not going to be able to buy anything online anymore. I don't know when that's going to change. The Bible does not talk about the internet whatsoever. But I have a very strong feeling that we're going to get to a point where you're not even going to be able to buy anything online. And you're going to be forced to somehow provide a picture of your mark or whatever for you to be able to buy anything online, because the Bible is, just warning us in advance that this is going to happen. It's going to get to a point where you can't buy anything or sell anything, trade anything without that mark. That means going on the internet too, because that was one of the first things that came to my mind is, well, I can go on the internet still. It's like, well, not necessarily. We're gonna get to a point where those Christian companies like Answers in Genesis or whatnot, they're not gonna exist anymore, because you know why? The only people that would be left to run them anyway would be people who may not necessarily 100% believe or agree with everything that they say. And I'm not, trying to make anybody look bad or anything, but yes, I do know that there are Christian companies out there where there are people who may not 100% agree with everything that that company preaches, and they still love the company very much. Or they may also, these people may also say, well, my faith is very similar to the Christian faith, so therefore, I don't necessarily disagree with everything, but I don't necessarily agree with everything either. But I'm just going to go ahead and say I do. But yeah, unfortunately, even like in the Left Behind series by Tim LaHaye and whatever his name is, there was still a pastor left behind. Now, of course, the whole series is fictional, but it's based on true events, true biblical events that are to come. And this pastor was left behind because even though he preached God's word, he didn't necessarily believe everything he was reading. My grandfather, my mom's father, was a great example. He went to church for many, many years, but that didn't necessarily mean that he was going to believe everything he was hearing. He ended up dying a devout evolutionist, as sad as that is. So just think about that. So, but in the long run, the thing is, the COVID vaccine nor the face mask have anything to do with the mark of the beast. Basically, what we're living in right now is we're living in an age where, yes, there is a very deadly sickness going around, but I also feel like it's more than that. I feel like the government's getting to the point where they're using this sickness as an excuse for control, because we had a more deadly sickness back about 12 years ago because of swine flu, and it was a lot worse than this. In fact, every classroom I went to, we had to use hand sanitizer. We never shut down. So why are we shutting down now? Why? Because of the fact that the government is wanting more and more control as we move forward towards the end of times. So the closer we get to those times, the more the government's going to worry, the more the media is going to try to scare us, and the more we're going to fear the unknown. And because the coronavirus, sorry, is something that nobody has ever dealt with in their life, it's going to be one of those things that the government is going to basically tell everybody we need to fear it because we don't know anything about it. So therefore, the only way we know how to protect against it is to wear a face mask or to get the COVID vaccine. And that's literally the only things we know about getting rid of it. And then, of course, sanitizing everything. I mean, the only good thing we have going for us right now is the fact that the majority of it has gone. But that doesn't mean it's completely gone now. I mean, there's still remnants of it. I mean, there's a possible fourth case that might show up. It may not happen over the summer because of the heat, but just come cold months, it might surge again, and then they may have to shut down stuff again up here. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that Florida's going to do it. Why? Because Ron DeSantis doesn't want to lose money over it. I get that. I completely respect that. That doesn't mean that, everybody will. And as I said in past videos, the face mask thing is nothing but a political debate. That's all it is. The conservatives, they don't want anything to do with the face mask at all. I mean, if you're more like me, who's a independent, then you're not going to really care either way. You're going to either be like, I'm going to wear it just to be respectful of others, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to support it fully. I mean, I personally would rather not wear it, but at the same time, I'm still willing to wear it out of respect for others. But at the same time, I'm not also going to go around telling anybody that you need to wear the mask. I'm one of those people that says to pretty much any grown man or woman that I see not wearing a mask that brings it up, I would say, hey, the store or the business, the only thing they can do is put up signs and play recordings saying you have to do it. At that point, it's up to the individual to decide whether they want to follow or not. We can't say anything at all. I cannot tell you to wear your mask. And I will not even tell my own grown friend TJ or my grown friend my grown friend Kay to wear a mask. I might try to encourage TJ while we're at Disney just so he doesn't get kicked out, but that's about as far as I'll go. I mean, my whole point of this video was not to talk about that. That's actually another video, but I was just using this as an example. Just to prove that, I'm not that kind of person. And if we're like walking around Polk County where there is no mask ordinance, if they want to walk around everywhere, Walmart, Lowe's, the mall, the flea market, without a mask, that's their problem. That's their prerogative. I'm not going to stop them. I'm not going to encourage them to do the right or wrong thing either. I'm going to let them decide on their own. I'll continue to wear my mask when I feel it's necessary. They want to keep trying to get me to, not wear the mask. I mean, that's their choice. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to always follow what they say. I'm just going to say, hey, if you guys want to wear the mask, that's up to you. But I'm going to choose when and where I don't want to wear the mask. And that's about it. I promised you guys I wouldn't give you any attitude about it, and that's all they can ask. And I know they appreciate that. I mean, come on. These are the kind of guys you wouldn't want to mess around with anyway. You're not going to get anywhere. It's like talking to a brick wall. You're either going to get cussed out, yelled at, or maybe even threatened. So that's as far as I'm going with that one, especially TJ. I wouldn't threaten him. His next door neighbor, I especially would not even try to, and push him to wear the mask. Long story short, we're not mask police. If if you walk into a business and a store manager or just a manager in general tells you to put on a mask, now they have the right because they're the ones that are running the business. But you as an individual who's shopping or giving that business money, you have no right to go up to another person and tell them you have to wear a mask. Now, if you catch an employee not wearing a mask, you can gently say to them, or nicely say to them, hey, just so you know, maybe you should probably put on a mask. Or you could even go up to customer service and say, hey, I saw one of your employees not wearing their mask properly. Oh, did you catch the name? Yeah, it was so-and-so. I just wanted you to be aware. And you always want to be polite about it. You always want to be mature about it. You don't want to come across as a tattletale because you don't want to look like a big baby. I know that there are adults out there that don't seem to have a problem with it, but this is the way we should be about these things. And then as far as the COVID vaccine, it's one of those same things if you want to get it, because right now the COVID vaccine thankfully is a voluntary thing. If it were mandatory, then we would be definitely heading in the direction of the mark of the beast when, everything is being forced upon us. We're definitely heading that direction though, because of the fact that, there's certain government, I mean, Biden did put the nationwide mask mandate on, but that doesn't mean he's enforcing it as strongly as like other countries. I mean, come on, there are other countries out there which have much stronger um, mandates going on. Look what's going on in Edmonton, Alberta. A whole entire church just got fenced out because their congregation is only allowed to meet up to 15%. Most churches up there have to meet purely online right now. I mean, if I were that church, I don't know if I would go as far as keep trying to meet in person. I know that it's the best way to, um, you know, praise the Lord and worship with the saints. And I know that the church shouldn't always have to cooperate with the government, but at the same time, you have to think about, the health and safety of others, especially with how many cases Canada has. In this case, I would say if you have no choice but to do online only, then you have no choice. I mean, my church did online only for 3 months. We had no choice. Um, they closed, or they were saying 10 people were allowed to be at the church every single week. I got yelled at by my family for even going to store on the video, even though I had to. Because they were like, you should be home. You have no business being out of your house unless it's an absolute emergency. They didn't even think that being at my church was it considered essential, and it was. Most people do not consider going to church essential whatsoever. And that's why the government has basically decided, well, if these people can't, keep their congregation level to 15%, then we're going to have to throw them out. We're going to have to lock them out, basically, is the best way to put it. Because this is another sign of the end times. We're living in an age where the government and most worldly people believe that attending church is not considered essential. It is considered optional instead. And I've been seeing this for years, even prior to the pandemic. I mean, I used to go to Serve Church down in Central Florida, spelled SURV. We got the name from Joshua 24:21. And you won't believe the reasons why not everybody got to church every single Sunday. I've heard reasons like, well, my kids had soccer practice. I went to the beach that day with a family, or I had family or friends in town, and it was the only chance I could get to go. I've heard also I had to work, or I couldn't get up. That's one of my favorites. I mean, you name it, I've heard it, and for whatever reason, it was always that church. And I also saw a lot of members come and go because the church membership agreement was so strict that a lot of people got a little frustrated about it because they were like, well, there's too many rules that we have to follow, and I shouldn't have to come to a church and follow rules. I should be able to just come and go whenever I want, which is what most churches do. And I feel like that's the reason why Hebron Baptist has so many people coming to it, because they're like, if we're allowed to come and go when we want, then we're just going to keep coming. And here's another funny thing, excuse me. Even a lot of people that have attended Hebron Baptist Church in the past prior to the pandemic, they've currently stopped going because either A, they're requiring face masks, B, they don't feel comfortable attending during a pandemic, or C, why go when there's online options? I mean, we put the online option out there because we know that there are people that physically can't always make it to church, but now that things are starting to go back to normal, we're trying to encourage people to stop watching online and try going in person. But that doesn't mean everybody's always going to agree with that. I mean, we can't force people to go to church, but we can definitely highly encourage it. I mean, we're at least getting to the point now where we can at least meet online, meet in person, and I'm going to enjoy that while it lasts, because who knows how everything's going these days. We may eventually get to the point where we might go back to square one, like we were a year ago, which is my mom's fear. But we can only pray and hope that things just continue to be normal, and that's all I can ever ask for, But you have the COVID vaccine being spread throughout the entire nation, and my store has been finally just opened the COVID vaccine to the public, and of course the public was so excited about it. They were like coming in swarms to get the COVID vaccine. And the reason why I won't get it, finally, to answer that question, is not because of the fact that I feel like they're forcing it, which they're not. It's called, for one thing, they're pushing it too hard. And I always got the flu shot because at least the flu shot is effective. And the flu shot, it never had any side effects either. The flu shot's been around a long, long time. The COVID vaccine's still brand new. So the COVID vaccine, still has its issues. Obviously every single person has a different reaction to something. And my body has a very high tolerance level for things. I only get sick a couple of times a year. I would say that the odds of me wanting to get the COVID vaccine, if I were to get it, that is, would be higher at the end of my time with Myra than right now, because I'm still there for a little bit longer. And also, I'd be more interested in doing it, like, let's say when I'm not working there anymore and I'm just working at the Ark Encounter. And then I could go, like, when I'm off from Myra for a couple of days. And then, since I haven't had a day off in a few weeks now, almost 3 weeks, very soon anyway. I wouldn't want to do a lot anyway, so I would honestly want to go then and go get the COVID vaccine and basically spend the next 2 days miserable on my bed if I got sick. And at least I would be resting in my bed and I wouldn't have to go anywhere, which would be great. But that's honestly what I was planning on doing anyway, was just sitting around the house. In this case, I would just be laying in my bed. It would just be too bad. I'd be sick to my stomach or whatever, but hey, at least I would be home. At least I would have an excuse to stay home. But the other reason why I won't get the COVID vaccine, I mean, you already know my main reason, excuse me, because I'm still working for Meyer, and the fact that there's no such thing as regular sick now, as COVID sick only. So that's my first reason. My second reason for not wanting to get the COVID vaccine, as I mentioned earlier a little bit ago, it's not perfect yet. It still has its issues. It has side effects. So I've been scratching my head for a while now, asking myself, so why is the government trying to get people to get injected with something that's not even perfect yet? Not something that, or something that is not even working properly yet, and it has so many issues. It has so many side effects. We're going to insist you get this COVID vaccine so you'll be COVID free. But by the way, it has its issues with it. So just keep that in mind when you get the shot. Okay, well, thanks for the heads up. There's a chance that you might get sick for a couple of days. And these specific vaccines, these specific COVID vaccines anyway, are the ones that do that to you. So you might want to get this, and this. Like I've been hearing the Pfizer vaccine is worth it, but the Johnson & Johnson one is not working whatsoever. And I'm just like, so which one should I get? It's like, like which one's going to be the most effective and which one's not going to have any side effects? It's like driving me crazy. Obviously, if you don't do shots, then you won't want to get it. Another reason why I won't get the COVID vaccine, I feel like it's a nod towards a government-controlled society. We're definitely heading that direction. And I feel like it's also a liberal thing to do, because I'm really only seeing liberals do it, which is odd that my mom did it. I'm like, really? I mean, yeah, I get it. She had to do it for her job, but I also think about the fact that I did live with someone with COVID, and I never got it, so I feel like why would I need a vaccine in order to be cured from COVID? And I feel like just because you get the vaccine doesn't mean you're automatically cured, which is why everybody's running off to get it, because they're thinking, I get this, I'm going to be cured from COVID. It's like, not necessarily. It just means your chances of getting COVID are that much lower. And I also feel like even some companies are going as far as using bribery to get people to take it. And to me, that's not okay. I mean, yeah, they'll turn around and say, "Oh, it's an incentive," but I feel like it's bribery. I feel like once again, it should be a choice. But you know how that is. I'll see my final reason for not wanting to get the COVID vaccine. And honestly, if TJ and K ended their friendship over me getting the COVID vaccine with me, that just means that they weren't real friends. And I would say, well, that's your loss. Because if I got the COVID vaccine and they say, well, we're not going to be your friend anymore, then I would say, well, then you guys weren't real friends in the first place. And honestly, I've been doing very well saying no up to this point, so I would be shocked if I ever did finally cave in and go, yes, I guess I'll get it, but obviously you can tell that I'm not overly interested still, so I mean, at least it's still an interest. It's still like, if you want to get it, it's not like you have to get it. If it was mandatory, it's like one of those, like the flu shot, they always make me get that every year. Even my doctor was trying to get me to get the COVID vaccine. He's like, you know why? Of course I know why. I know all these answers. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it, you know? I mean, when I go to the doctor again, I feel this is like he's going to say, so did you get the COVID vaccine? And I'm going to be like, no. And he's going to go, why not? Because I don't want to. I mean, how else could I bluntly put it, you know? But yeah, my final reason for not getting the COVID vaccine would be the fact that I also feel, or from what I've been told by Kay, this is a very good reason. This is actually my most recent found out reason. From what I'm understanding, they're injecting you with COVID so that you won't be able to handle having COVID later. So, as stupid as it sounds, but it has some truth to it, they're basically injecting you with COVID so that way when you deal with COVID again, you won't be able to handle it. And honestly, it's the only way to really be able to tolerate anything. I mean, a flu shot, I don't actually know what they inject into your body, but like me personally, why does my body be able to handle sicknesses so well? Well, for one thing, I wash my hands all the time, and I wash them thoroughly. For another thing, um, I try to sleep a proper amount of hours at night. For another thing, I always try to have a proper diet. Uh, I always try to balance like what I eat, drink, and do during the day. Another reason is I have a lot of white blood cells in my body, and finally, another reason would be that I do try to get a lot of exercise. And then, of course, just the fact that a lot of the sicknesses I do catch would be sicknesses that I have or that I've dealt with so many times, and it's always the same sicknesses, like the flu, or a cold, or something like that. The flu is the one I get every single year, like literally, and I always know how to handle it every time. Like the flu, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen. I know what the symptoms are going to be like. I know how long it's going to last. So I did not get the flu this year. I only had a cold, but normally I would get the flu every year. I do get a cold every single year, and I normally would just drink plenty of fluids. I'll drink plenty of orange juice. I will have vitamins if necessary. I eat lots of fruits and vegetables. I drink plenty of soup, or eat plenty of soup, I should say. I sleep more if I'm sick, and I take lots and lots of cold and flu medication. So Dayquil and Nyquil, in other words. and I get my body right back to normal within a week. So it always works, and it's called you have to know your body, and you have to know how to fight that sickness off. And when your body is so used to all this stuff because of all the reasons like I mentioned for me, then yes, you can get your body right back to normal in no time. People of lower immune systems could take 2 to 3 weeks versus it just takes me a week, which is very incredible. Anyways, guys, I think I've spoken enough tonight. I really hope you guys enjoyed tonight's vlog. Um, I hope that you guys really stop and take some consideration to what I said. If you are still in doubt about getting the COVID vaccine, I would definitely do some more research on it. Read your Bible some more, and pray about it. If you don't do any of that stuff, I would give it some thought. And also just take into consideration that if you do see someone with a face mask on, just keep in mind that that face mask is mandated, but at the same time you still can live your life normally with knowing that the government has too much control. I mean, look on the bright side, we're in America where we still have some freedom compared to other countries. I mean, there are other countries out there that have a lot less freedom, so be blessed and thankful if you live here in America. Look at the fact that you can travel within all 50 states versus if you go to Canada anytime soon, then you're pretty much stuck there. They can't even leave. We surprisingly still can go into Canada and go back, which is so weird, but they cannot go anywhere at all. So they're stuck right where they are. So could be worse, could be over there. You could be in another country where they're not able to do much either. Be thankful for the fact that if you live in Florida, you can still go to the theme parks. There are other places out there where they can't even do that much at all either. So I always try to be thankful and blessed for what I already do have. I mean, we're not living in a completely government-controlled society yet. So just pray to God that, He will continue to be there for this country, this world, and that hopefully it will be a very long time before we get to the point where this whole entire world is being ruled under one power, one evil power. And for those of you like atheists who are like, well, we are already, it's God's that evil power. It's like, well, you're going to be in for a rude awakening the day when the beast is released and everybody has to get that tattoo and you're not able to do anything, and you're going to be even more sorry the day when you stand before God and you did receive that mark, and God's going to say to you, I never knew you, and He's going to cast you in that lake of fire. So you just be ready for that time. So I'm just warning you guys now, and that's why I made that life-changing commitment when I was 8 years old, because I knew I was living my life a lie. And how I knew? Because when I was not allowed to take or partake in the Lord's Supper, something clicked in me that day. And if you want to learn more about that, feel free to watch my testimony. I have two versions. I have an original and I have a new updated one. My original was all pre-recorded. You never get to see me, but you do get to hear me, and that was recorded many years ago, and I did a recent one where I'm actually facing the camera, so. And that was actually within the past couple of years as well, anyway, so. I really enjoyed tonight. I will see you guys early next week when I'm going to talk to you guys about another AIG video yet. Again, I'm not sure yet. And hopefully I'll have something else interesting to talk to you guys about. Probably Disney or Universal related. Until then, always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great night. Peace out.